Hey there, Bruins fans. As you can see, I shaved the playoff beard. I changed the jersey to a Chicago Blackhawks because I am now a fan of the Hawks and no longer am a fan of the Bruins after they lose 4-1 against the Buffalo Sabres. Just kidding. Trade deadline day is here, and the Chicago Blackhawks have started off with the biggest move. I thought it was only right to wear that jersey. I am still a believer in the B. Charlie McAvoy scored last night, and that was about the only good thing. Rick Nash looked good, was battling in front of the net, will be a really nice power forward on the David Krejci line, so that's some positives out of that game. But let's move on to the Chicago Blackhawks. They trade forward Ryan Hartman for a first-round pick to the Nashville Predators. The reason I start off with this trade today is because we also gave up a first-round pick in acquiring Rick Nash. The second trade of today's trade deadline day was Paul Stastny to the Winnipeg Jets from the St. Louis Blues for a first-round pick and a prospect. That's similar to the Rick Nash trade because we also gave up a prospect in Lindgren and a first-round pick. So that just shows you where the market's at. So for those of you who thought we got robbed in the Rick Nash trade, giving a giant package with a first-round pick, that's just how it is out there. Paul Stastny is around the same talent level of Rick Nash and is also going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So that's obviously the price it takes to get a rental. And I think we got the better one because Rick Nash is just a natural goal scorer, big body. He isn't a center, and centers always have a little more value. But as I said, Rick Nash, really big physical guy, and that's what the Bruins are looking for. And he was selected first overall way back in early 2000s. So you got to put that into perspective a little bit on his value. We are now going to move on to the second comparable trade of the day. The Columbus Blue Jackets acquire Ian Cole for a third-round pick and a prospect. That sounds pretty familiar. That's the exact package that we gave up for New York Rangers Nick Holden when we gave up Rob O'Gara and a third. So another comparable. For those of you who don't like the Holden trade, this shows you that your 6th, 7th extra defenseman, the price is a third-round pick and a prospect. So all in all, this shows that the Bruins have done well this trade deadline. They might have even set the market because the Bruins traded a couple days before, and now that the trade deadline is here, everyone's using the Bruins model when they're acquiring their players. Just under an hour to go on NHL Trade Deadline Day, and the big fish are starting to go, and it's only right that one of the biggest fish was taken by the king of the ocean, San Jose Sharks. Evander Kane to the San Jose Sharks for a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a prospect. This is a guy that the Bruins looked at for a while. He's similar to Rick Nash in his style of play, power forward who can score goals close into the net, but has always had a bit of an attitude problem, it seems, in Buffalo, and never really fit there. He originally started out in Winnipeg and got traded for around the same reasons. Originally, Buffalo was looking for around 2 first-round picks and 2 prospects, so it shows you the closer we get to the deadline, prices go down. But again, seems like the Bruins made the right deal here because you're getting a similar player without the attitude problem for a first-round pick and a prospect. We are just minutes away from the official trade deadline, which is 3 o'clock, and there's one last Blue Jackets trade that I want to tell you about. It's Thomas Vanek being shipped to the Blue Jackets for Tyler Mott and Jussi Jokinen. Now, enough about these other teams, and back to the good old black and gold. Seems like Don Sweeney took Monday off today, which I'm fine with. He got all his deals done earlier in the week and yesterday so that there's no pressure when today everyone's running around, making deals, going up and down with the prices. Don Sweeney just got to kick back and relax and enjoy his team that has gotten better without giving up too much. And I'm really excited to see what this Boston team can do now that it's loaded up for the playoffs. The Lightning got Ryan McDonough. And JT Miller. Don't worry. Dylan Don didn't take the day off after all. He made a last-minute deal too. Tommy Wingels from the Chicago Blackhawks. Nope. You know what? It's fine. Here's why it's fine. Yes, Tampa Bay got Ryan McDonagh, and yes, they also got JT Miller, a solid first-line forward and a solid first-line defenseman on an already cup-contending team. But that doesn't mean they got them for free. They trade a solid young first-line prospect in Nemesnikov, who was lighting it up with Stamkos and Kucherov at the beginning of the year, two of their very best prospects, a first-rounder, and a conditional second-round pick. So for those of you who are saying the Bruins could have totally got JT Miller and Ryan McDonagh, think of it like this. Jake DeBrusk, Danton Heinen, Brendan Carlo, a first, and maybe a second for Ryan McDonagh and JT Miller. I would not do that deal. I hope that you would not do that deal because you realize how much of your future you're giving up for now. Now, if you're Tampa Bay, it's a really good deal because you only have Nikita Kucherov for 2 more years, and then he's an unrestricted free agent, so he's probably going to go elsewhere. Stamkos, Hedman, all in their prime right now, so they are trying to win this season. And maybe even next season these will carry over as well because Ryan McDonagh isn't a free agent until next year. It's still really scary, though, for a Boston team that we think has a chance at reaching the Cup. You're going to have to go through this Tampa Bay team. I'm pretty sure of it. Unless a team like Toronto or a wild card team can knock them out in the first round, which would just be fantastic. Now, on to the Bruins deal. This is a little confusing, but again, Don Sweeney doesn't break the bank, so you can't be mad at him for this deadline. It's a 5th-round pick, and that hasn't yet come in, but it is looking like that's the final deal. Same thing with the Rangers and Lightning deal. We can cross our fingers and hope that they don't get those players because they didn't bring it in on time, but it's very likely that the deal got in on time and they're just finalizing the salary cap and if the trade is official or not. Same deal with the Tommy Wingels trade. Bruins give up a 5th-round pick. They get a 13-14 extra forward in Tommy Wingels. I mean, you got Gianta, who I thought would be that guy, but, you can never have enough depth when going into the playoffs, and I think the Bruins thought this. They were just looking around what's there. They didn't overpay for anything. All the prices were still really high again today. You saw what McDonagh and JT Miller might get you. I mean, 3 solid young players and 2 picks would be absolutely ridiculous. So they just play it safe, give up a 5th-round pick that really doesn't matter for a solid NHL guy. 29 years old, chipped in a couple of goals this year, is fast, can play penalty kill, is nothing more than a 4th-liner. So, we'll see. If someone gets injured down the stretch, a guy like Tim Schaller, Sean Corrali, Noel Acciari, maybe he can just be plugged right in there with some ease because he has NHL experience with San Jose and Chicago. So, I don't hate the pickup, I just don't understand it, and it definitely doesn't match up to the level of talent that's being sent around, like Thomas Pekanik going to the Toronto Maple Leafs, or a Ryan McDonagh, JT Miller going to Tampa Bay. But again, we'll be fine. We got Rick Nash, we got Nick Holden, sign Brian Gianta, get Tommy Wingels. And all of that for nothing more than a couple of entry-level prospects maybe, but probably guys who would just be buried in the organization. Ryan Spooner, who's a solid maybe 3rd-line center that just didn't fit here. Matt Bolesky, who is dragging it down, and a couple of picks in an organization where you're already full of prospects. So I still give Don Sweeney probably an A- on this. Pretty solid. I'm happy that we didn't have to give up the young core or any of our real talent to get these moves done, but it's definitely been a busy day for some of the teams that we're going to have to compete with. I didn't even mention the Pittsburgh Penguins getting Derek Brassard because their GM just works wonders all the time. So they have 3 first-line centers, basically, in Malkin, Crosby, and Brassard. But totally fine. They're going to have to go through other teams before they go through us. So And I still think the Bruins are a dark horse. We still have a solid core we have the best line in the NHL, and I don't care what anyone says. Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak is an elite line in all three zones. So we have that with a great goalie in Tuukka Rask who could compete for the Vezina. We have a rookie sensation, Charlie McAvoy. We have 40-year-old Zdeno Chara who's playing like he's 25 in his prime. So it's really exciting to see what we can do. I think we can still contend. We'll be fine, but definitely these last-minute deals didn't make it an easier road to the Cup for the Black and Gold. We're looking pretty good after this trade deadline, and I'm excited because Boston's going to be chasing Lord Stanley's Cup and getting another ring around it with Boston's name on it. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like it and subscribe down below.